Hi guys, how's it going? And thank you for joining us today. Well, to tell you the truth, this is going to be a rather strange video as a result of the actions by the Umpa Lumpa Lord Frost. You see, in effect, he told the House of Lords to basically take a hike, keep your nose out of government business, after having refused to discuss or publish the legal text of the alternative proposal that he has already provided to his counterparts in the EU. Now, as against a backdrop of the devastating fall of the sales of motor vehicles in September by 45% versus pre-pandemic figures, as well as claiming the dubious honour of the lowest car sales in 2 decades. And by the way, I remind you that September is the second largest month for vehicle sales. I thought that Lord the Umpa Lumpa would have welcomed the opportunity of allowing his colleagues in the House of Lords to review his masterpiece in order to deflect attention from such bad news. I also felt sure, quite frankly, that having gained some vital experience from his last fiasco, he would have sought as much guidance as possible. And where better would he wish to start but in the very same House where 2 of the 10 appointed arbitrators of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement are sat beside him on the same bench as he does. But apparently, he doesn't need his work scrutinised, he doesn't need it examined, nor criticised in any bloody way, because it has become apparent that this bloke has the gumption to come to such a conclusion because of the complete fiasco he's provided over so far remains a complete mystery. What is even more confusing, just in case that one didn't flummox you, mind you, was what he said in the House of Lords in response to the request to view the legal text, which went a bit like this. Nothing to see here, lads, as there's nothing new in the text for anybody to be concerned about. And, anyway, it's already been shared with Brussels, which the Umpa Lumpa offered as some form of retort to support his position on why he would not publish it or why he would not allow the House of Lords to see it. Nor the House of Commons, by the way. He followed that with a pearl of wisdom, the likes of which I haven't seen or heard since I visited the Enchanted Castle in Disneyland. And it went a bit like this. It is a negotiating document for the purpose of negotiation. It does not in any way change the position of the UK government. Now, how about that for a complete vacuous load of nonsense? It is a negotiating document for the purpose of negotiation. I mean, what is that even supposed to mean? But he goes, to save confusion, he goes on to say that it does not in any way change the position of the UK government. Now, what I would like to ask is, what position is he referring to? Is it A, the position regarding oven-ready deal, or perhaps it's B, yet another prelude to yet another position to deliver yet another massive trade deal that is smaller or less favourable than the one we had with the same nation pre-Brexit? Or maybe it's C, a secret and confidential document that goes some way to explaining why the UK's newfound position leaves it outside Lugano, further away from doing any sort of deal with the US that we've ever been before, or maybe in the same position one takes when one is about to be rogered by perhaps the biggest Umpa Lumpa envoy the British government has ever sent to secure any type of agreement. I'm sorry about this, but he is as good for the nation as Chamberlain was when he claimed peace in our time. But I remind you, Chamberlain had the dignity to resign shortly after the fiasco transpired. What do you think the chances are of Bojo or the Umpa Lumpa falling on their swords? I don't think there's any. Now, you may think I'm being a little facetious here, but I really am not. You see, Frost delivered that text to the EU more than 10 days ago. And so, with all legal documents, it has been and will be further scrutinized by many different trade lawyers, from arbitration to contracts to international agreements, as well as by the various commissioners and the various commissioners' teams. So it's hardly a top secret document now, is it? But what intrigues me about all of this is that it seems that Frost thinks he will get away with it. He'll get away with the same stunt again, and by which I mean just throwing an agreement on front of Parliament at the very last minute with a take it or leave it ultimatum again. That is, you know, also oven ready, also gas mark 4, or whatever BS they come up with next time. Or maybe they're just not going to present it at all. If ever there was a sign that he is treating the House of Lords and indeed the House of Commons with the same contempt he obviously holds for anybody he either negotiates with or who tells the truth, his proclamation in the House of Lords was a typical example of his obstinance. Now, you may think I'm jumping to conclusions here, and hopefully you are right, but I remember that he had no problem publishing the legal text of his previous agreement in May 2020, a full 7 months before the Trade and Cooperation Agreement was even printed, let alone published, accepted and signed. Okay? His behaviour in the House of Lords was an affront to the British electorate. It was a disgrace. It was a challenge to British democracy. It was a slap in the face to British voters. Now, perhaps you guys may take the time to make some comments on this. I would be very interested to get the consensus of what you guys think, okay? Am I exaggerating, or am I simply reacting to the 4 years of deceit and misdirection that we have come to accept as the norm in British politics today? Let me leave you with this. Over the last 48 hours, we have been bombarded with announcements of how the UK seems to be basically taking the lead role in the manufacture of batteries and electrical drive systems for more environmentally cars. Now, all of which is extremely good news. But, and here is the big but, all, and I do mean all of the projects that have been announced recently have been accompanied with the news that the factories, particularly the factory in Coventry, will be developed with the financial and with the strategic cooperation of the local councils and government trade agency. Cash is required. Now, while this does make great headlines and buoys up the shrinking business confidence, it doesn't help but come to the attention of the legal eagles from both sides of the TCA. And I can assure you, the legal eagles from the UK side of the TCA are going, oh man, what are we doing here? Because we're shooting ourselves in the foot. You see, the TCA offered equivalence in industrial and farming production, so long as the UK maintained the level playing field, they could have access to the EU market. Now, should the UK diverge from such conditions contained within the internationally binding agreement, there will be consequences. Now, though the EU rather, doesn't shout out anti-UK rhetoric or policies at even close to the level and frequency to which we have become accustomed to over the last 3 years from our mainstream media and from our politicians, they, the EU I mean, on the other hand, are recognised even by the UK trade experts as being masters at implementing those bureaucratic policies designed to protect the EU. Okay, so how do you think the EU are going to react to such products competing with their manufacturers that would otherwise not be produced in the UK? If it were not for government subsidies that are basically not allowed under the TCA, who knows? Thanks for watching, and see you on the flip side. You all take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.